Something has gone wrong with my system. I did a test on a recording earlier just working and everything was working. And now, I don't know. I think I'm recording, but I'm just not getting the indicator. Let technical slow us down here. So, we will assume I'm rolling, and we will say welcome to everyone. And today's deck is continuing with the new playlist I created called Cheap Decks, the Cheap series. And this is Cheap Mono White. And I think I made it before Phyrexia came out. I may have made it before Brothers War came out. So we're looking at a bunch of older cards. But we have 2 copies of Adeline, so we test the waters and see what they got. Maybe we wait to have 5 mana next time. But they didn't touch her just then. Oh, they have Shielded Heart. Nice. We will do nothing. We have Fierce Retribution. They could really just sit there if they wanted to and not attack. Most people can't help themselves. This opponent has Discipline. But thankfully we have more than one type of removal. And that leaves them open to attack as well. And now you know you can't just sit around, right? Right? And what can we do? Let's go draw a card. That's fine. We've got Banishing Slash and Fierce Retribution. But again, with the Puppeteer, they can just sort of afford to sit there, can't they? But that is mana value 4, so Loconda can help us there as well. Oh, great. They just got a second one. Oh, brother. They chose cards that they just want to sit there. That's all they want to do. We can't really afford to just sit here, so we will attack. You take out a 1/1? Really? That's gonna hurt you. Unless you have instant removal. What do you got for 1 mana? Nothing? Sweet. They still get the extra card draw. So we're not out of the woods yet. But they had a rather insidious opening that's already got our health down quite a chunk. It doesn't do us any good to activate the Bank Buster, so we're just going to lose that one. And they bring back Shieldred, of course. And do I have enough mana yet? No, I do not. And I'm running out of time. I guess we start with that. Okay, we'll sacrifice the creature, we'll sacrifice the enchantment, and we lose 2 more health. They got Shieldred and Invoke Despair, and they got them both up early. And Fierce Retribution doesn't help us, but he's just going to sit there anyway. And we're going to run out of time. So what's left to do? Down to our final 2 life after the next draw. And they're over 20. They have a ton of cards. Now we can't gain life. Lovely. Alright. We tap that. We destroy tapped creature. I think they got us. I don't think we can fix that. They got us. That is not a good start. But what do you expect from a cheap deck that came out before Shieldred even existed? Alright, let's go ahead and show you what we got. What we put together. Welcome to Tpull's Corner, everyone. I'm Travis. It's a mono-white deck. So let's just sort through this stuff real quick and go on down, because I did create this deck a while ago and it might not work in the current meta. And did I skip it already? No, there it is, down at the very bottom. How long ago did I create this thing? Alright, cheap mono white. So we've got average 2.5 mana cost. It's kind of cheap, only 22 lands that we know of. 13 creatures, 25 non-creatures. We've got Chaplain of Alms, Gavany Trapper for the 1-drops with 4 copies of Lunarch Veteran, so we can gain some life maybe. 1 Runic Shot. There's not really any blue mana, so if I get a treasure, I could use that if I wanted to scry. We will have opportunities to get some treasure in here. We've got Adamant Will for saving things, Circle of Confinement for removal, Fateful Absence, Fierce Retribution, Intrepid Adversary, Sanctify to get rid of target artifact or enchantment, Sungold Sentinel so we can exile target cards from graveyards. That would have been nice to show up before they brought Shieldred back. Sunset Revelry to give us some life back and possibly creature tokens and card draw if we do it right. 1 more, Take Up the Shield, sort of like Adamant Will. Adamant Will gives +2/+2 and indestructible. Take Up the Shield gives +1, indestructible, and lifelink. So a couple of different ways to gain life in this deck. 3 Banishing Slashes. This will take care of the tapped creatures, artifacts, or enchantments. So hopefully I've got enough removal in case somebody comes at me heavy with artifacts or enchantments. And with the Gavany Trapper, who's usually left alone as a 0/2 until it's too late, we could probably tap whatever we need to, except for hexproof creatures. We're trying 4 Reckoner Bankbusters. I don't usually do that, but it does give me some card draw. 1 Borrowed Time, 1 Cathar's Call to give me a bunch of 1/1s. Fall of Lord Khanda you saw, where we could use it to exile creature and opponent controls with mana value 4 or greater. If we go up against any blue control decks, if I play this at a tactically correct time, I can get back anything they steal from me. And then finally we end up with a 1/3 Defender. 3 copies of Adeline. 1 for Arm the Cathars, where we can add +3/+3, +2/+2, and +1/+1 to 3 different creatures, and they all get Vigilance. 1 copy of Faithbound Judge, which starts off as just Defender, but after he gets 3 counters on him, he can attack as well as a flyer with Vigilance. And it gives us our alternate win condition of Sinner's Judgment. 1 Savior of Alabak. When he trains, we can exile another target creature from the battlefield. If you want, you can exile your own as well. And if you anticipate the Savior getting destroyed, you'll have another creature come back. 1 Repel the Vile. Again, against enchantments. Exile target enchantment or target creature with power 4 or greater. Again, another card that would have been great to deal with Shieldred. So we do have answers for powerful creatures like Shieldred. 1 to populate for the board wipes, 1 Mysterious Limousine will also exile another target creature, and 1 Invoke Justice so we can bring back a particular permanent card from the graveyard. 2 Fields of Ruin and Plains, and I mean, you can get a couple of draw cards if you want. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to keep it simple. It's called cheap mono white for a reason. We really want to be able to get a good board presence quickly and strike. With only 22 lands, we are short 2 lands, but the Reckoner Bankbusters should be able to give us enough card draw to sort that out in the early game pretty quickly. This is a bit of a gamble because a lot of Swarm decks usually have a lot more creatures, and here I've geared more around interaction and protecting the creatures that I do have, rather than just trying to count on getting a bunch of cheap guys really, really quick. And that can mean longer games, and of course it can mean things like, oh, they got shielded out and that kind of stuff. In this case, they got shielded out, they got shielded back. But they had a nice draw with the 2 other cards that drained life from me as well. So that was part of their build. It's not a bad build. Let's see, what do we want to do? Let's see, they've got more life, they've got more creatures, and they'll have more cards, right? So let's just play this now. That way we get the benefit of all 3 of those things all at once. They might want to just get rid of our Bankbuster if they feel like it. Yeah, they decided that is the best thing to do for them. Training is not a trait that's mentioned here, so they can't. Eater of Virtue can't get it. But do we want to get rid of it now, or do we want to? This is mono value 3 or less. What if we just get rid of the Initiate for starters, and we start going in and hitting them? And let's wait on the Burning Slash for now. Burning Slash won't help against Adeline. Adeline has Vigilance. How about if we just... She didn't have Power 4 or greater yet. So let's do Borrowed Time. Soulless Jeller. That would only affect us. Let's see. Can't enter the battlefield. So that would maybe stop one of our powerful cards. That's power, not toughness. That's an artifact creature. So it counts as an artifact, right? What do I want to do? I want to get rid of the tokens. It only needs crew 2, so I can get rid of the other token as well. It's doing what it can. I'm counting on them not being able to get rid of a 1/1 remotely, so to speak. So we'll go ahead and crew this with both of them. We get to attack, and we get rid of another token that won't come back if we use Limousine again. Whereas if we used Limousine again, and we had one of their creatures, we'd have to release it. They're willing to chump block their companion just to save 4 points of damage? Why are they looking at my 1/1 tokens for? I have an artifact and I have an enchantment, so this gives me the samurai now, so it's worth using. Bingo. We are assembling an army. This looks like an artifact creature deck, doesn't it? We're gonna take away that instead of get rid of Cathar's Call? Really? I don't get that. I don't get it. Oh, shield token's not gonna matter. Shield counter, it's not gonna stay. Not when we use the Limousine. So let's see, that's an artifact creature, that's an artifact creature. We're gonna crew. There's a risk in using the one with Cathar's Call, because they might have a white spell as well that deals against tapped creatures. But we just nullified their little shield counter, and they can block 1 measly point of damage and still have their creature be around. We still get another creature. That thing is going to have summoning sickness, so it can't get rid of the crowbar, it can't get rid of the Limousine this turn. So which do I get rid of? Do I get rid of the crowbar or the Soulless Jailer? I don't really want to use the Limousine again because it'll let loose this and exile things. Let's see. Get rid of you. And I think we can afford to attack. We just won't use the Mysterious Limousine anymore. We can use the Limousine as a blocker now instead of an attacker. They're not out of it yet. I do need something else to get through. Something besides just land. Okay, so I can go ahead and tap you. We can continue to attack with you guys. I'll lose 1 each turn, but I'm getting 1 back each turn with the Dark Call. And that allows me to crew the Limousine as a defender. They're gaining a life and a card each turn right now. And that is setting me back. So I think it's time to tap the Soulless Jailer next time. Huh. Yeah, that's gonna fizzle, right? Permanent cards and graveyards can't enter the battlefield, so that card won't work. So if I tap you, I'm back with everybody except the enchanted one. They're willing to make that trade. I'm ready for something tougher if they want. If they've got something big or an enchantment, we're ready at an instant's notice. And if we can get rid of the Soulless Jailer at all, what do we have? We could bring back the Bank Buster? Oh, maybe we can't, because they're probably going to get rid of it with Lion Sash now. That's a problem. Maybe if it gets big enough. Yeah, there goes the only permanent we would have had. Is it worth me giving them back the Annex Sentry? Or maybe it's going to get big enough that I can just get rid of it soon. Why don't you exile more stuff from your graveyard, buddy? You've got one more white mana source. Come on. Yes. Thank you. Let them commit to an attack. If they think they have a 4/4 defender. Okay, they're just going to bring in their flyer. Which is fine. And now, you go away. My turn. And we're flooding out with land, but we tap you. We can now afford to attack with everybody. That's 4 points. And I don't think they can afford to attack again. They could put this on somebody and give them vigilance. No, they just got a whole... They just doubled their number of creatures for one spell, right? And still, my most powerful card, my ace in the hole, doesn't really have anything to use it on now. And couldn't use it if it wanted to. They're deciding they can still afford to attack. 3, 4, 5. Why would you do that? I can tap you. And I can attack with everybody now, right? You got anything else in your bag of tricks? Nope, that's game. It took us a while, but we got there. I got a couple more lands than I wanted to get. We still actually managed to outdraw our opponent on land, even though I have 2 fewer lands. I'm starting to notice that pattern. It's kind of strange. I've had some mono red decks in the past, and those have been cheap on lands. And I've had some mono white decks that have been really cheap aggro decks in the past. And I tend to flood out with those decks more than any other decks. It's exactly the opposite of what should happen on an average basis. Alright, no reason to wait with the Lunarch Veteran. He looks like he should be retired already, though, doesn't he? Sousa's Many Journeys, and they make good on it on their first turn. Much better than I ever managed to do. Less than half the time I make that good. My opponents, like 80-90% of the time, they tend to make good with that. Gross. I can put down Chaplain of Alms, gain life and do nothing. Are they going to attack with... Oh, wow. That's a lot of attackers. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of you. And we'll block you. I'm in a bit of trouble already. So, I don't want to take 9 points of damage all at once. They didn't cast a spell beforehand. Let's go get Adeline back. We'll target me as the player. Give Adeline all of the counters. Get 1 life back, and we attack with the Veteran, which gives us another power to Adeline and another 1/1 soldier. And as long as they can't remove Adeline, we're in kind of good shape right now. What can you do? That makes no sense. Why would you do that? Why would they attack with their 5/5? I do not get that. But we've got Indestructible to put on her. I don't think green and red can do anything. Can destroy the enchantment, that's fine. They used Moonveil Regent's power to discard their hand. The spell they used was only one. Oh, what'd they have? They discarded Shielded. They didn't have the mana. They didn't have the mana for it. And they're going to attack anyway. They could have blocked Adeline the next turn to get something. I don't know how much we deserve credit for that. Look at what they got rid of. They got rid of Shieldred. Yeah, kind of had fun. That wasn't the most fun I've ever had, but it was alright. It was alright. We'll do one more. What do we get? Broker's Ascendancy. Sweet. I think I needed another copy of that card. For those who are new, we're a free-to-play account, so I have an artificial restriction that others don't have, other channels. We do not spend wildcards to create anything just yet. We're kind of showing that you can have a fun competitive deck, that you don't need to spend a fortune to get all the mythic rares up front, or even craft all the mythic rares. Sometimes we'll build an entire deck around a card we like, and if it's a mythic rare, we might only have 1 or 2 copies of it. And they work, and it's fun, and I don't get tired of them. Like, I only have 1 copy of Shieldred right now. Shieldred does tend to go in almost every black deck that I make, whether it's multicolor or mono black, but it's only 1 copy, so I'm never really getting tired of using Shieldred as a card. Whereas other times, you know, I might get a little bored if I've always got 4 copies of a card and I'm always putting it in the same deck. What do we want to do? Absolutely nothing. So much for a cheap mono white deck, right? We can't really... This is a little bit too reactive up front, so maybe we can respond to stuff. And we're playing with that. That doesn't give us a lot to go on. We can play the Trapper. So there's a spell that's cast, and we can get rid of their dual land. That just thins our deck of land a tiny bit. Didn't really hurt them all that much, I don't think. Because really, if they need a second copy of the same color, they can go get it then, and they're probably going to be not having much trouble with their land colors. Yeah, see, and that's why you got the green, because he already had the red. Mana value 4. Do I depopulate or do I use Lord Khanda? Let's go ahead and try and do this. We'll just get rid of 1 for now. We cast a spell, we stop them from flipping. We don't have the mana to tap it, stop it from attacking. Let's see, that makes spells cheaper, right? So you're gonna get rid of a creature. Okay. We're only gonna take 1 point of damage here. But I think we go ahead and depopulate. I don't want to put Adeline up against 2 different creatures, if I can help it. The pup. The pup already has something to help, so maybe I should have tried to be greedy and waited. Werewolf deck has a lot of stuff. The Friendly's not necessarily going to help me all that much, but I can use Invoke Justice and bring Adeline back, so I'm not really... I don't mind using her as a chump blocker for anything. That I don't like. Okay, if Fragment dies, then we get to draw a card at least. Pax Betrayal is not a card that usually comes into play when we're doing this. So Adelin's going to kill the Fragment of Khanda. What other spell you got? You want to empty your hand? They got a trample card or something? Lunar Frenzy. Okay, so they've played their entire hand. Alright, let's get rid of you now. You'll get some life, but we don't have to worry about you increasing power. We will also get rid of you. And I will attack. And we save Arm the Cathars for when we have 3 creatures. Stormseeker. Power 4 or greater. It stays power 3. It only builds it up. That is an instant. Let me do this. Let's get rid of the token. And then we attack with just Adelin. They can block or they can get rid of the 1/1. They'll take the 3 points of damage. But by playing the Limousine, we kept it from flipping into Knight. He can attack with 2. And he will. Does not attack. He wants to keep it so that he can take out Adelin. He does not know we're going to get rid of the Stormseeker. Excellent. But we didn't cast a spell. Kept pace with the land. He's probably going to try and draw a card. He's probably not satisfied with what he has. I probably would have kept Lunar Frenzy for later when I was able to use more mana for it. So that was possibly a big misplay on his part. That's not helpful to us. If he has a battle trick, again, I don't mind losing Adelin, so we'll just throw her into the fire. And we're just waiting to use Invoke Justice on her. Perfect. Because all she'll do is die, right? And we can bring her back. We can bring her back right now. Just make sure I don't misclick. Target me. Give all of the power to her. Oh yeah. And that's all they need. Alright. 1 copy of Invoke Justice, and it is like the VIP. I didn't even get to use Arm the Cathars yet. I was waiting for having 3 creatures that I could attack with to maximize my use of that. But that was also a trick we had up our sleeve. So I think that's a good demonstration. I think we got through most of the cards to show you. If my computer will resolve here and everything will process, I'll show you the deck one more time. And since I don't think I mentioned it, go ahead and like and subscribe. The deck list is below, so you can copy it and take it out for a spin if you want. I make things a little bit differently from the average Magic player. So there's tons of mono white aggro decks out there, but most of them concentrate on like the soldiers right now, the Azorius soldiers, and just having a whole bunch of additional creatures. So this one's a little bit different, where the cheapness is sort of cheap. Also, kind of. Oh, hang on, let me see. Oh, just 2 copies of Broker's Ascendancy now. That was only my 2nd copy I got. Anyway, yeah. So only 13 creatures. but I kind of always have a way to get more, right? So we've got Cathar's Call, and that'll end up giving us more creatures, even if they're only 1/1s. We got 3 copies of Adeline, so we're also going to get a bunch of 1/1s there. And then Invoke Justice to get somebody back, which is usually Adeline, because she's usually our powerhouse. So it always ends up, if you do end up getting the Bankbusters down and using all their counters, you get the Pilot creature token as well that can power the Bankbuster easily. We've also got things like the Lunarch Veteran that we can bring back as a Spirit Cleric. So even though it might go away, we still get a creature back. So the deck is littered with little things like that that'll help us actually get more creatures on the field than it looks like when you go look at the deck list and say, oh, that's only 13 creatures. How can that be a swarm deck? Well, with with Adeline and Arm the Cathars, it can. You saw that we had stuff that we kind of kept in our tool belt, so it's more of a reactive deck, with Adamant Will and where's the other one? Hey, where's my other one? Adamant Will, and it should be a 2-drop, right? There, Take Up the Shield. Sorry, it took me a second to find that. With those two, it gives us a chance to rest and recover and save our guys up. We've got Banishing Slash that, again, gives us yet another way to interject more creatures if we do have the enchantment and the artifact under control at the same time. And most of the deck is designed with these kind of conditional type arrangements, right? So that I tend to hoard those things until I can get maximum effect. So although I will use a Banishing Slash just to get rid of something, if I look like I'm going to have an artifact and an enchantment coming up, I am going to hold on to that if I can, just so I can get that Samurai token creature. So I'm very aware of what the additional values of the cards are here, and I do try and hold on to them until I can use them. I don't know what to say about it other than let me know what you think of it. And for the new people, go ahead and make sure you're subscribed. For everybody, please go ahead and click like. And we'll add this to the playlist for the cheap decks. And we've got at least one or two more cheap ideas coming your way, right? But nice little cheap deck with only 2.5 average mana cost. It's always great if you can get it under 3.0. And we'll leave it there. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.